Hello everybody, and what's up? It's Thursday. Sorry I started the video a little late, and for today what I'm going to be doing is some tilapia casserole with potatoes, and I'm going to show you how I make my spring rolls. The spring rolls, I use them for breakfast or for snacks, or it's a really go-to snack if you have your guests or anything. So you just put them in the deep fryer and you serve it with a nice chili or whatever sauce you choose to dip in. So let's do this. Alright, so let me get that camera to show. So I've made most of the prep, actually. The prep work is pretty done. So what I'm gonna do is I got some tilapia fillet, right? And alright, there we go. Okay, I've got some tilapia fillet, and I got this from the Asian store, but you can get it from anywhere. If you want to do Walmart, they have the 5-pound bag. I usually buy that, but I wanted some fresh ones because I was running late today. So I needed something that's already thawed. Let me turn down that music for a little bit. I've got some happy music. So let me turn that down and wash my hands, and we'll get right on it. Alright, so I am Lois with the Trio LLC, and this is what we're going to do today. So let's get with the fillet. So I chose two really nice big size fillets. That's how they look, and I'm going to cut this up. I'm telling you, I rarely use kitchen shears, but they are helpful sometimes. So cut it up, and I've already greased my pan. I'm going to use this glass because I prefer using glass pans instead of dark ones, because the heat, I feel, distributes a little better. So I'm going to cut it in quarters, and there we go. And the second one, so it just depends on how big your party is, how much tilapia you're going to use. So cutting it in quarters. And the reason why I cut it in quarters is it makes it so much easier for serving when you're scooping it up, so that every serve that you get, that you actually take out, has a piece of fish in it. So depending on how big your container is, whatever you're putting in the oven, you can cut it into smaller pieces if you'd like. For me, I find that quarters work really well for this size of fish. So I have them cut up, but before I put them down, what I want to do is layer it with onions first. Now what the onions do is they get into, they flavor everything, so they get into the fish. And if you'd like to marinate the fish before, you could do that as well. So let me get the onions. Alright. So I cut the onions in rounds, circular shape, and what I'll do is just layer that. So give your container a really nice, good layer of onions for the fish to lay on. Alright. There we go. Okay. So I'll put the onions. And what I'll do is I'll drizzle just a little bit of oil in here. because I did coat the pan with oil, but I want to make sure that it's enough that the onions are not sticking onto the pan. Alright, there we go. And the other thing I like to add to the onions is garlic, of course. And what I have is a clove of garlic, but I won't put the whole clove in here. I'll probably put about 3 or 4 big buds. Now, I'm not even sure if they're called buds, but hey, still learning. Alright. So there we go. And what I'll do with the garlic is I'll just crush them whole and put them on top of the onions. So just peel them and crush them. All right. 1. 2. Alright. 3 and 4. And this is exactly why I told you guys about peeling garlic and beforehand, because I buy them, I told you, organic garlic. So it's such torture when you're actually doing them while you're cooking. The peeling part of it, I do not like it. So I'd rather spend, you know, a couple minutes or probably about 20 minutes peeling the whole bag of garlic and just being able to put it in whenever, right? So I've got this. So the way I crush my garlic is just, you know, use a knife, a wide knife, and then sprinkle it on there, onto the onions. And crushing them just releases all the goodness of the garlic, so we don't have to actually chop it or dice it or anything. Hey, Maurice. All right. There we go. Hey, Gigi. All right. So we have the garlic with the onions layered. You can see it's a nice layer on there. And because I had cut up my tilapia, I'll go ahead and place it on top of the onions. And this is a really nice, easy dish that you could just pop in the microwave, in the oven. When you're running late and you don't want to, you want to cook a wholesome meal, but you're also don't have the time. So this is one of those, I told you, if I could cook everything in the oven, I really would. So that's that. And I'm going to set the oven to 375. That's a good temperature for this. Still dancing, I know. Thanks, Gigi. It will be delicious. Alright, so I have my tilapia in there, and then I'm going to spice it up. So I know I already have the garlic in there, but I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of extra garlic on the tilapia. Alright. And then I also have some blackened fish spice. And you don't want to overspice this too much because you'll see later the sauce that I'm going to put on it will already have a lot of spices in there as well. So this is just for the tilapia so it can soak up all that goodness. Alright, and then we're going to layer the potatoes. Now I cut them Yes, the fish is raw, completely raw. So once we put it in the oven, it is gonna cook. Good question, Gigi. All right, so I cut the potatoes into scallop style. So just about that much, that wide. And you want enough to cover all the fish. All right. So layer the potatoes on there. Okey-doke. I'd already prepped this, so this is wonderful. All right. Okay. All right, it's looking pretty good right now. Now the other thing I like to add in here is tomatoes. This creates the color as well. It helps with the color because once the fish cooks, it's more of a white color, and the potatoes are white as well. So you want to make sure, you know, to put in a little bit of color in there. So I usually use tomatoes. You can put some red pepper flakes if you'd like a little bit of heat in there. I'm going to do the tomatoes right now. And I usually choose tomatoes that are not too ripe. The green tomato just has a different flavor from a ripe tomato. So I do a combination of both. So let me cut this up. And I'm going to cut them in a circle as well. Alright. And what I'm going to do with the tomatoes is I'm going to place them kind of on the edge to get the outer edge of the pan. So this is also for aesthetics. It just makes for a much better, a good looking meal, right? So I've cut the red and the green. I actually like green tomatoes with a little bit of salt in them. Makes for a delightful snack. Alright. Okay, here we go. And my oven's getting hot. Let me clean my hands. Alright, so this is kind of how it looks like, right? With the tomatoes, the onions, then the tilapia, then the potatoes, and then the tomatoes on the outer edge. And I also do like to add cilantro, once again for the flavor, but also for the aesthetics, the look of it, right? And you can add some more cilantro at the end of once it's baked and it's ready as a garnish. Alright, so a little bit of cilantro. Alright. There we go. Okay, so see, it already looks so appetizing. So that's what we're gonna put in the oven. I just gotta drizzle some sauce on it. Now for the sauce that I use for this specific casserole, let me show you the spices. I put a little bit of Royco and girl loves her some cayenne, so yeah, a little bit of cayenne. And I'm gonna use some milk. Alright. So I'm gonna do about 2 teaspoons of the Royco, about half a teaspoon of the cayenne. So this is why I was saying, you know, you need to be careful about what spices that you're putting onto the fish, because we're adding more spices. And because it is fish and it does get bland, we gotta add a little bit of salt. But remember, the Royco has salt already, so don't over salt it. And then there we go. Some milk. That's about a cup. All right, and then mix it up. So it's gonna be nice and creamy. And for those who like cheese, I personally have issues with cheese because of the lactose. But if you like some cheese on top of that, you could go ahead and sprinkle some now and then put the sauce in. And then just before it comes out of the oven, you go ahead and put some more. Antoinette, hello, how are you? All right, so there we go. All right. The other thing I'm gonna add onto this this mix in here is a little bit of lemon, and lemon goes great with seafood specifically. So let me grab that and squeeze about half a lemon juice in here. I'm gonna do that one of these days and fall down, so I should stop. All right, so half a lemon, and I'm gonna squeeze that right into the sauce. That gives it that really nice citrus taste on there. And because I really do like lemon, what I'll do is I'll grate a little bit on there as well. Alright, so the skin of the lemon, right? Just grate a little bit on top. It adds the zestiness onto it. So, here we go. Alright. I love the smell of lemon. Okay. And that's the sauce. And the milk really gets into the fish, and it helps with the potatoes as well. So I've got this little small container. So because of how big the container is, my pan, I am going to add a little more water, because you want it to cover the fish almost halfway before you actually close it up. So this is still not enough, so let me add a little bit of water. All right. I'm gonna taste this. Perfect, this is good. So if you like a thicker casserole, you can go ahead and add, instead of the whole milk, you could do the cream instead, right? Like half and half if you have some. So pour that over. Alright. And my oven is ready. So I'll just cover this with foil and then toss it in the oven. And I like to cover it with foil right at the beginning, right? But just before I take it out, I do like to dry it up a little bit, because I do like a little layer of brown right at the top. Especially if you have some cheese, it's really good. So just before you take it out, you spread a little bit of cheese on there, and then pop it back in the oven and put it on broil. Now, once you put it on broil, you got to be really careful and watch it, because it'll probably take about 3 minutes or even less for it to brown. So for now, we want to keep those juices in there so the potatoes cook, and the fish cooks really well too. All right. That's good to go. Now, the other thing that we're doing today is spring rolls. As I said, they make for a great breakfast item or for a snack during the day. If you have kids and you know you can't make them, you know, you want to give them wholesome snacks, but you're not able to make them really quick, you can just make some spring rolls, and I'll show you how I put them actually in the freezer, because I make a batch and then put them in the freezer, and then I just take them out as I go. So I wrap them up that I can take them up one by one. So let's do that. All right. Okay, so the spring rolls I am making today are chicken spring rolls, and this is what I use to wrap them with. I don't know, yeah, I think that's clear enough. You can see that. I've also tried these for samosas, and they work pretty good. So if you ever want to try them, they are 25 in a pack, and this was about, I think, like 99 cents or something like that, or $1.50 at most for 25. So it's a really good deal, and they get really nice and crispy. So that's why I like this specific brand. So make sure that you have defrosted them enough, because they can get really tedious if they're still frozen. But at the same time, you don't want them to be too, you don't want them to be at room temperature for too long, because then they start, it's like, it's dough, right? So you don't want it to be too sticky as well, because they're layered up pretty tight. All right, so I got my ground chicken, and I like to put in some cabbage in there and some carrots. I grated the carrots, cut up a small cabbage, and then I have the chicken. So we gotta make that while we wait on the casserole. And I prefer using a wok for this, just because it keeps everything inside. Alright. So go ahead, turn it on to medium, and put a little bit of oil in there. Okay. And let me grab some garlic. I'll go ahead and put the onions. You don't have to really wait for the, Hi, Chico. You don't have to wait for the oil to get hot. You can go ahead and just put in the onions in there. I cut up one small onion, and I think it's gonna be enough. I like my onions, so I might add just a little bit more. Actually, yeah, let me do that. I think that onion is a little too small for my ingredients. So let me come back. I got another small onion over here. So let me cut that up, just dice it up. No specific shape for this, because it's going straight into the spring rolls. All right. And I've already told you about the garlic that I usually put in the container, so I still have my container. It lasts me a long time, actually. So it is a brilliant idea. All right. I've got that going. And for the chicken, it's ground chicken that you can get just about anywhere. I don't have a specific brand. Purdue is pretty good, so whatever. And then I like my spring rolls to have quite a bit of vegetables because, I mean, I've tried it with mixed vegetables. It didn't come out quite the way I wanted it to. So the cabbage and the carrots add up the sweetness of it. And I will show you what dipping sauce I use at the end of it once I've fried it, and it's really nice. It's the sweet chili, and I know we have this in Kenya, the sweet chili sauce. That goes as a really nice dipping sauce for the spring rolls. So yep. All right, and we will. In the meantime, I am gonna make sure this is good. So this is what we're gonna use to seal the. I was gonna say samosas, the spring rolls with. So it's just the usual flour with water. You can add a little bit of salt if you'd like, but I just do flour and water to seal the spring rolls. Okay. I hope you all are having a sweet week. I'm still in shock that January is over, but hey, time flies like that. All right. Now somebody asked me about if anyone saw the cake, the dessert I did. Somebody asked me what it was. I did have the ingredients on there, but it was a carrot cake, freshly made. It was just a box, the usual Betty Crocker carrot cake, and just follow the instructions at the back of the box. Get that ready, and then once that's ready, put some ice cream on the side. I put some granola, and then I love warm cake and ice cream, so just take it out of the oven, let it chill for a little bit, and then cut a piece, put it on the side, and then put the ice cream, some granola for the crunch, and then the whipped cream, although you have to eat the whipped cream really quick because the cake is still hot, so yeah, it does melt. And then put some strawberries in there, and bam, that's how you do it. Alright, so my onions look good to go. I am going to add some garlic on here. I'm going to do about a teaspoonful of the garlic. Alright. Okay, and we're gonna put some spices in here. What I like for my spring rolls is to make it a little more curry-like. So I'll use curry powder, and as y'all know, some cayenne. There we go. And the cayenne will also be really complimentary to whatever sauce you choose. The other sauce you could use for dipping sauce is a cilantro avocado kind of mix. So that is also really good with spring rolls. So, grab a spoon. Once your onions have caramelized, go ahead and add in the curry powder. About 2 tablespoons, I would say. And then the cayenne, I'll do about half a teaspoon. Alright. And then I'm also going to add a little bit of garam masala. And the garam, there's different places to get it. You can get it either, I know we have some at home by Heat. The company Heat has really good garam. But if you can't get the one from Kenya, then you can get one from the Indian store, any Indian store that you find. All right, mix that in with the onions. Okay, and then let that be for about a minute or so. And I will add a little bit of cilantro in here too at some point, so I have that ready to go. Alright. And you want to make sure that you got to scrape the pan at the bottom, because the curry powder and the cayenne especially sticks to the bottom, so scrape the bottom of the pan. And then go ahead and we're ready for the ground chicken. And you want to break it up so it's much quicker to cook. Alright, let me wash my hands. Alright. Ooh, I got that cayenne off my nose. Ooh. Okay. And you want to turn up the heat just a little bit while you're doing that. Nelson, what's up? So you want to turn up the heat while the chicken is browning. So there we go. Once again, if you're joining now, we are making some tilapia casserole that I already have in the oven, and some spring rolls. I'm going to show you how to fold the spring rolls in there. So, yes. So while it's cooking, you want to make sure that you're splitting it up because it can get really, it can cook in bigger chunks. So because we're making spring rolls, it might be good for other dishes for it to clamp up. But because we're making spring rolls, you kind of want to separate it. So the spices are really getting in there really nicely. You can smell it. It smells lovely. Because I've turned it up at such a high heat, I gotta keep scraping the bottom so it doesn't stick. And because it's ground beef, it cooks really fast as well. So you gotta watch it really carefully. I mean, did I say beef? I said I make ground chicken. I don't are. All right. So you can kind of see how it looks like right there. Broken it up into smaller, much smaller chunks, right? Yeah, I'm not whipping it any, not today. Alright. Alright, so you can leave that for a little bit. What I'll do now is I'll chop a little bit of cilantro. Because I'm going to add that right at the end. And I'm going to do this right now because the chicken won't take too long to cook. So by the time the chicken's ready, the rest of the vegetables should be ready to go. And I don't like to overcook the cabbage because you'll still end up deep frying it. Deep frying the spring roll, right? So it's still going to cook a little bit more, so you don't want to overcook it. Alright, and I'm going to do a whole fistful, I guess, of cilantro. Fistful of cilantro. Now, one of these days I will probably put a video up, or maybe a short video, of a really awesome sauce that you can make with cilantro. Instead of your usual dressing, right? You can actually make a cilantro carrot dressing for your salads that is, you know, completely organic, completely homemade, and lasts for a while. So maybe one of these days I will show you that. Because I get tired of the same vinaigrettes, the ranches, the Thousand Islands. So it's nice to have that variety of something that you can make at home, that you can mess with, actually, depending on what your taste like. If you're a sweet or a salty or a spicy or whatever. Alright. Cilantro's all chopped up. So I'm waiting for the chicken to get dry because right now it's still draining all the liquids. So I want it to be a little more dry. And as I said, because it is ground chicken, it cooks so much faster than, you know, your pieces of chicken. And I'm still breaking it up as I go. Alright. So because the container that the amount of chicken I cooked is, I think it'll definitely be enough for the 25, and probably I'll have a little bit of extra. So that's okay. I will give you ideas on what you can do with the extra. I've used it for several things because I only have 25 pieces of the wrap. So I'll definitely finish the 25, no doubt. And I'm just smelling the tilapia. Oh, so good. Alright, so once the chicken is dried up, we'll go ahead and put the veggies in. So that's the cabbage. And then stir that in so it cooks with the chicken. the chicken is already cooked, so no chance of salmonella or anything. So you have to make sure that chicken has really cooked. But as I said, because it's ground chicken, it cooks much faster. All right, I'll put the cabbage in. I'll go ahead and put the carrots, the grated carrots in here. I used one big carrot, grated that, and then popped it in here. And the carrot, as I said, helps with the sweetness as well as the color. All right, and you can see it's already looking pretty good right now. And as I said, I don't want to overcook the vegetables. I have no worry about eating undercooked vegetables, but the meat has to be cooked. So undercooked vegetables I can deal with anytime. So you want to make sure that you don't overcook it. So I still want a little bit of crunch in my cabbage at this point, because I will add a little bit of water in here too. And then I'll go ahead and put in the cilantro. Alright, I love the colors in here. Okay. And I do want just a little bit of extra sweetness in here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of ketchup. And I really don't like cooking with ketchup, but it's such a nice little cheap little product. So instead of, I could have added the brown sugar or something like that, but I'm going to cheat and get a little bit of ketchup in here. Not too much, and you do want the mix with ketchup to be thick, because you don't want the mix for the spring rolls to be too watery, because we're putting it onto dough. So it's the same thing that goes with samosas, right? You don't want the meat to be too soggy. Hey, Stan! Happy birthday! All right. So a little bit of water in there with the ketchup. And because we added the cayenne already, it really complements with the ketchup. So it's not, the ketchup is not so pronounced. And then pour that in. Stir it in. Alright. And that is good to go. We take it off the heat. Alright. So that's the, I would say that's the easier part. But, I mean, what makes a spring roll, right? It's the mix, right? It's the fill, the feeling, wait, no, not the feeling, but the filling. The filling that you have is what makes a spring roll good or memorable, right? I've been to places where it was so bland, and me being who I am, I'm like, oh no thanks, I'll just change my appetizer. So that's that. So now I'm going to show you how to fold it in into the dough. I mean, there are people who actually do the dough themselves. As my dad always says, work hard, work smart, not hard. So for me, I choose to go with these anytime, any day. All right. So what you want is a clean surface, right? And I'm actually going to use a board because it does get messy on my surface. Alright, there we go. Let me see if you guys can see that. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I already have my sealant mixed in, so that's just water with flour, right? All-purpose flour. And this is what the wraps look like. And I'll go ahead, because they're super thin, I'll go ahead and rip one out. Super thin. There we go. And they're almost see-through, honestly, so pretty awesome. Okay, so let me see if I can get a better angle here so you can actually see. There we go. All right. So what we do is we place it diagonally, right? And I'm gonna get a plate to put the ones that I've already made. All right, there we go. You have to have enough room to move everything, right? So put it diagonally, and then, and I didn't even taste this, so let me make sure it's good. Great. It has all the spices in there. You can definitely taste that. The little bit of heat as well. So we'll go ahead. Let me clean my hands real quick. All right. Ideally, what you want is to actually make sure that it has cooled down before you start doing this process, because you don't want it to be too hot, because as I said, this is dough. So you want to make sure that the chicken has actually cooled down a little bit. That's ideally, but since you know you guys are with me right now, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Okay. All right, so diagonal. Then go ahead and put it about maybe 3 inches above the corner, right? And get a really nice spoonful. And you'll probably, by the time that you're doing the third one, you already kind of have an idea of how much you need to put in the wrap. And then you go ahead and take the corner, wrap it over. Right, and keep going until you get to where the other corners are meeting, right? And then usually at this point I put a little bit of the sealant and then close it up on one side, put a little bit more of the sealant, wrap it up to the other side so it goes a little bit over, because what you want is for it to make like the little handkerchief sign on top, right? And then you tuck everything in and you keep going, rolling it until you reach the end. Put a little bit of sealant on the little corner end and close it up. And then you look at it, if anything is coming out on the ends, just put a little bit more sealant and close it up even more, right? And there you go. I mean, it's nice and easy. Because my chicken is still hot, you can see it's already starting to break. So we don't want that. So I'll let this go ahead and cool, and I will show you. I'll show you one more, but before then, let me check on our casserole. And let me go ahead and show that to you. All right, it's looking pretty good. And we'll give it probably, let's see, let's test the potatoes because they're really what matters The fish is almost done because you can see the white on there. It's no longer pink, it's turning white. So it looks like the fish is pretty good. So the potatoes probably need another 10 minutes of being covered. And then after that, if you like cheese, as I said, sprinkle some on here. Once the potatoes are done, that is. Sprinkle some cheese on top and then put it on broil and put it back in for the cheese on top to get really a nice brown color. Now the mix that we put in, as you can see, has already thickened, right? You can see the sauce in here has thickened, and that's exactly what we want because it is a casserole. We don't want running liquids, right? And it will continue to thicken as we let it cool once everything is done. But I will go ahead and cover this and put it in there for another 10 minutes. And the potato should be ready by then. And I will definitely be taking pictures of that. All right. So let me show you one more spring roll. So I make sure you guys got it. All right.
Huh?
Alright, so this is the spring roll. Alright, put that back in. So we put in the diagonal shape, put in the meat. And then tuck it in and fold it over, roll it until you get to the corners aligning. Put a little bit of sealant on the actual spring roll, fold over, put it on the flap that you just pulled over, and fold the other side and continue to roll until you get to the triangular part. Put a little more sealant over there and roll it over, and then whatever you have on the sides, if anything, just close it off and close that off, and there you go, another perfect one. So I'll go ahead and complete all those 25. I'll wait for my chicken to cool a little bit, and I'll definitely be putting pictures up of that. And I hope you guys enjoyed today. Have a fantastic weekend. And once again, this is Lois with the Trio LLC, and you can contact us for any catering or event management services that you might need. We're in Maryland, but we go all over. So if you have something big going on, hit me up and we can see what we can do. All right, and I am out. Thank you.